morning and welcome everyone. Satabdi and I will be your resource and guide for the next 25-30 minutes to talk about grants management and managing National Institutes of Health Awards for foreign components. The DSI initiative comprises 4 requests for application or RFA announcements. Here are the 4 announcements. The first one is an RFA RM, which signifies the Common Initiative or the Common Fund, 20-015. This is a U54 cooperative agreement, and it's for specialized centers. You can see by the description, a U54 can include a spectrum of activities focusing on specific disease areas or biomedical problems. The second RFA is number 20-016, which is a U2R mechanism for International Research Training Cooperative Agreement. This mechanism is used to support research training programs for both the U.S. and foreign professional and students to strengthen global health. The third RFA is 20-017. This is a U01 Research Project Cooperative Agreement. This particular mechanism supports a circumscribed project performed by a named investigator representing their particular areas of interest and or competencies. And finally, the fourth RFA is 20-018. This is a U2C. It's a resource-related research multi-component projects and center cooperative agreement. These mechanisms help to support projects and centers that enhance the capabilities of resources to serve biomedical research. Now you will note all of the above are cooperative agreements. NIH defines a cooperative agreement as a mechanism that lies somewhere in between a grant and a contract. Although it is an assistant mechanism like a grant, it is used when there is substantial involvement by the federal staff, but not to the point of having the federal staff play a dominant role in the conduct of the project. So based on the definition and each RFA listed, you can count on federal staff being involved and playing a positive and supportive role during the grant project period. Now let's move on to roles and responsibilities. Next slide. Thank you. During the life of your grant, you will be interacting with various government staff. The one key thing to remember is we together are a team, government and grantee, working together for the greater goal of public health while providing solid stewardship of federal funds. Here are some of the important players and definitions of who they are and how they will interact with you and your grant. First, the Chief Grants Management Officer. As stated in the focal point for all grants management activities, prior approval, terms and conditions, etc. What is important to remember is the Chief Grants Management Officer is the only authorized person to obligate federal funds for an NIH grant award. The next person that you will see listed here on the slide is the Grants Management Specialist. This person's name appears in the Notice of Award and is an agent of the Chief Grants Management Officer and is assigned responsibility for the day-to-day management of the portfolio of grants. The next important person is the program official. The program official is the one person as you, the investigator, will interact with the most when handling all of the scientific and programmatic issues. The next person on the list is the Scientific Review Officer. This person or these people are health science administrators who manage the activities of the review groups, including the Center for Scientific Research study section where your application would be assigned. The next moving down on the list are the recipient staff, which would be you. The recipient staff has a myriad of people, as you can see, Overall, the responsibility for successfully implementing an NIH grant is a shared responsibility of the investigator, the authorized organizational representative, and the research administrator as key members. The authorized organization representative is the designated representative of the recipient organization in matters related to the award. And this would be a person who signs off on your application, who has the authority to make those types of decisions, and works closely with the investigator and other key people at the recipient's staff. The next person on the list is the program director or the principal investigator. This is an individual designated by the applicant organization, to have the appropriate level of authority and responsibility to direct the project or program supported by the award. The principal investigator or the project director will be the person who interacts mostly with our or the NIH program staff or the program official. They work together as a team to affect the scientific and programmatic goals of the grant. And finally, the last person, but certainly not the least, is the research administrator, who is the local agent of the authorized organizational representative, and including the principal investigator or the project director in providing day-to-day grant-related support. And this person will work closely with the grants management specialist at the NIH, working together as a team to effect good grant stewardship for the grant award. Thank you, and I'm handing it off to Satabdi.
Hello. So I'll go over the pre-award process. So as of May 25th, 2020, the new grant applications must be submitted in the new sets of form, and those are Form F in grant application forms. And basically, the applications that are coming for you guys, this will be you guys will be using the Form Fs. The notice reminds NIH and AHRQ applicants and recipients that applications must use Form F application packages for due dates on or after of May 25th, 2020. Form F application instructions are now posted on the How To application guide. And I have the link in the slides, so you can go and basically download the application guide and read through it. The Form F application packages are currently being posted to all active funding opportunity announcements. All parent announcements will be reissued for due dates on or after May 25th. So everybody has to use this new set of forms when you are submitting your applications. Even after actually June 15th, when people are updating the human subjects information, they also will have to use the Form F set. So if anybody has already submitted the application packages with Form E before May 25th, they also will have to use Form F for updating information of human subjects and clinical trial information. So Form F is the form that needs to be used from now onwards. The RFAs for grants are found in grants.gov and in NIH guides. And I also have those links in there. So you can find you can go to grants.gov and find the new RFAs and program announcements, the PARs. So those are the two kinds of announcement that comes out, and you can track not only for these 4 programs, but you can actually sign up and get all the new RFAs and program announcements that come out of NIH to apply for new grants. And actually the RFAs also indicates whether collaboration with a foreign component is allowed. So you can check if people applying from other countries are eligible to apply in the RFAs and program announcements. Check the funding opportunity announcements. The institute, what kind of institutions are allowed? If government or federal institution, academic institution, other nonprofits and hospitals. So you need to read through the RFA to make sure that if you are eligible to apply. Also, you need to check the educational requirement for the principal investigators, the PIs, the citizenship requirements and qualifications and expertise. So all of these are actually included in the program announcement. So you have to read through it to make sure if your institution or if your organization is eligible to apply, and also if the PIs are eligible to apply. So there are certain points that you have to keep in mind. Start early. Basically, you have to really work on these applications for a while. And for the submission also, we advise that you should start, through the process at least 4 weeks prior to the application due date. That is like a month early, and that is recommended. Read your funding opportunity announcement and download the instructions. Submit through Assist and grants.gov. Organizations must submit applications to grants.gov using Assist or other electronic submission systems. The application submission systems and interfaces for submission tracking. Assist is a web-based system used to prepare your application package in SF424 and submit electronically through grants.gov to NIH and other participating agencies. All applications must complete the submission process by tracking the status of your application in ERA Commons. And make sure when you have submitted your application, track the application that there are no errors in there. So you need to, submit your application ahead of time and track in ERA Commons that it has gone through completely. So for foreign institutions, there are registrations that are required before you can even start up the application process. So first thing you need to have is a Duns and Bradstreet number. And you have to register to Duns and Bradstreet. Once you get that number, then you will be able to basically register in SAM, Systems for Award Management. With the Duns and Bradstreet's number, you will be able to have the SAM.gov registration done. And once you get these two things in place, then you can move ahead with your application. So start ahead of time and have these things handy. So when you start your application process, you don't have to wait for all of this. Also, there's a business identification number cross-reference system, BINS. So as a search engine for foreign and domestic manufacturers, suppliers, and potential contractors that supports the federal supply chain. So review the BINS system also. And companies located in the US, they also need a DUNS number. They also need to register in SAM. And you also need to register in NATO, NATO Support Agency. So you need an NCAGE number as well as a foreign institution. And for US institution, you need a DUNS number, you need a SAM registration done, and also you need a CAGE code. For US territories, will be assigned by US and must be registered in SAM. So for, Puerto Rico, Virgin Island, American, other US territories, they also need to go through the registration in SAM. Next is that all institutions must be registered with DUNS and have universal. Basically, the DUNS number is going to go away. So the DUNS number is going to fade off, and there is a new that will go off end of this year, and universal numbering system will go off and be replaced with a new numbering system called Universal Identifier. So PIs must be registered in ERA Commons with a DUNS ID. Failure to register in Commons and to include a valid Commons ID is in the credential field will prevent the successful submission of an electronic application to NIH. So basically the PIs need to register in ERA Commons, and also the signing official in the institution needs a registration done in ERA Commons, because both of them will have different privileges for checks and balance. So once you have the SAM and the DUNS registration done, then the PI will be able to have a ERA Commons registration, and the SO at your institution also will need to register in ERA Commons. The application organization must ensure that the DUNS number they provide on the application is the same number used in the organization's profile in ERA Commons and for the SAM registration. So, the DUNS number you create, you should use the same DUNS number throughout the process in ERA Commons and in SAM. So everywhere the organization should have use the same DUNS number. For the purpose of the guys, notice it is to alert the recipients of federal-wide that the dance and Bradstreet number actually is going to go away. Actually, I was mentioning about this a little in my earlier slide. And it will be replaced with a new number called Unique Entity Identifier. Effective of December 2020, the System for Awards Management, which is SAM, will become the central repository of the new SAM managed identifier, which is called SAMMI, that will be incorporated into your institution SAM registration. So the dance number is going to fade away at the end of this year, and it will be replaced by a number called SAMI, and you have to get it in the SAM. Actually, it will be integrated with SAM registration. That is a good thing, then you don't have to deal with another, dance registration after this year. The assignment of the SAMI will be incorporated into the SAM registration process, eliminating the need for applicants to seek external identifier in order to register. The transformation from dance to SAMI is ongoing, and DSA will provide details to agencies related to the full implementation by December of 2020. NIH will provide updates and guidance to recipients on the change to policy and procedure as additional information becomes available. So we don't have the detail on this yet, but it will be coming out. Guide notices will be coming out on this process. So there is a list of FAQs that I have listed here for SAM.gov and for foreign organizations. And I don't need to read through each one of these questions, but I will take a couple of them. Are international organizations required to hold a dance and registration to register in grants.gov? Yes, you do need a dance registration number to register in grants.gov. Also, there is a thing, can I register my organization in Commons in my native language? No, we can accept only foreign names that use English alphabets. Unfortunately, ERA Commons cannot recognize anything other than English. Are there any tips to assist foreign organizations while registering in ERA Commons? So there are a couple of tips right here. Keep these handy pointers in mind while registering in ERA Commons. So you do need your dance number when you are trying to register, and you need your SAM registration done. So you need those things in place when you are trying to register. Also, there are a few other FAQs over here. So as international organization required to obtain an EIN number as part of the grant submission process? No, you don't need a EIN number when you are registering when you are applying. You can have, basically I have a slide on that you can use a 444 number just to fill that space. How do I know if a foreign organization is eligible to apply? Each funding opportunity has a section for eligibility. In this section, there will be a clear statement about whether foreign institutions are eligible to apply. What budget forms should I use if I'm a foreign organization? If you're a foreign organization, you always have to apply in research and research related forms, and you have to submit a detailed budget. On the SF424 application, the field for state appear to be required. What do I do? So make sure you select your country first. If you select a country other than US or Canada, the state field will become optional. So that, and then you can basically, if you select your country, then it will be grayed out for you. How do the system handle phone numbers in different formats? The phone number field application has 25 character limit. So that's the limit for the phone number. What should I include in the congressional district field? Foreign institutions should feed all zeros for congressional district application. So, the slides will be available, and these FAQs will be handy for you when you are filling out your application. Next, I will go to F&A for grants of foreign and international organization. NIH continues facilities and administrative cost under grants to foreign and international organization at a rate of 8% of the direct cost. So basically, whatever your direct cost is, you can request for a 8% of facilities and administrative cost, but that does eliminate basically the equipment from the budget, the tuition and related fees, and any sub-award excess of 25,000. Those are basically excluded from the FNA. In addition, NIH has removed the requirement that only allows FNA costs to be recovered in order to support the cost of compliance with NIH requirements. So basically, you can have a 8% on other things as well. Next is because if you are applying from foreign institutions and you have your subcontract in US, you need to know what or how you can have that. So a formalized agreement whereby a research project is carried out of one or more other organizations that are separate legal entities. Under the agreement, the recipient must perform a substantive role in the conduct of the planned research and not merely serve as a conduit of funds to another party or parties. This agreement typically involves a specific level of effort from the consortium organization, PDPI, and a categorical breakdown of costs such as personnel, supplies, and other allowable expenses, including FNA cost. The relationship between the recipient and the collaborating organization is considered a sub-award relationship. The following information must be provided to NIH as part of the application that proposes consortium and arrangements. So include all proposed performance sites, those of the applicant organization and the consortium participants. A non-modular grant application must include complete detailed budget for each consortiums. Modular grant applicants must include an estimate of consortium total grants. But for foreign grantees, you know, you always have a detailed budget. So you have to submit a detailed budget for your consortium with the US institution. And what is the difference between a consortium and a fee for service? A consortium or a subcontract is something that carries out grant supported programmatic activity. The consortium investigator provides scientific input into the direct and could affect the direction of the project. The consortium research makes an intellectual contribution to the project aims. The consortium work in both scientific and administrative part of the project. So the parent grantee is responsible to closely monitor activities at the consortium institutions. But fee for service is like, you know, are used to provide a routine service to the grantee such as equipment, fabrication, or repair, data processing, routine analytical testings. So those are fee for services. So there is a difference between fee for service arrangement, contractual, and a consortium arrangement. So keep that in mind when you are, you know, setting up your application. Here are some of points of contacts that I have in my slides that can help you. ERA Commons, grants.gov. So if you have any questions, I have provided the link, the email addresses and telephone numbers you can contact. And then there's a policies. You can look into the grants policy statement and the compliance office, and also have provided the SAM.gov help desk number for you know, for US and international recipients. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Satabdi and Mollie. We have exactly 5 minutes until we have to leave the room. And Mollie may have some quick answers to the questions that were posted. Mollie, would you like to answer the 2 questions?
Sure. I know I did respond. There were 2 questions. One was related to Forms F for the research training grants that they didn't see right away that it was in the RFA, and it is in the instructions for the SF 424 as well as other notices that are posted within the FOA, because as of May 25th, Forms F have to be used for all applications submitted. And then the other question was related to the 1 RFA 018, asking about the DSPCC or primes limited to African academic or other nonprofit institutions. And again, within the FOA itself, you will see eligibility requirements and which institutions and types of institutions are eligible to apply, and that is your guiding light for if they are or are not eligible.
I'm also seeing a question just now that popped up who is asking if the sub-award institution needs a dance and SAM registration. Yes, the sub-award institution will need a dance number and registration done because the sub-award PI need a ERA Commons registration as well. So, you know, and when you are doing the sub-award, you will have to fill out your sub-award institution and dance number of the sub-award institution.
Okay, thanks, Satabdi. Excellent presentation, ladies. Very, very informative. I hope you all were able to follow that. 3 more minutes until this room will close. So if there are no more questions, I will invite us all to go back to the plenary already, or maybe type in a question here if you still have a question. This will be shared with the presenters and they can get back to you. But if you want to go back to the plenary, which is where you were before you came to the clinic, you need to sign out of this Zoom and then go to the KI Storm page where you had the information on today's sessions, and you need to go back to the interactive panel page. And then you'll see the green join Zoom button there, and then you'll be taken back to the main plenary, where we're going to go over the questions that were asked in the earlier sessions and any other questions that you've since posted. I hope that's clear. I'll just post those instructions in the chat so that it's clear to everybody where to go. And I'll stay here until everybody leaves. So if you still have any problem going, I'm happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for attending our clinic.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining our clinic.
Thanks, Mollie. Thanks, Satabdi. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.